Today is Monday, August 6th, 2018. Get ready for the Emergency Broadcast System, the Forbidden History Series. What they didn't want you to know, what we tell right here. Now's the time to call your friends. We now interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you this very important deprogramming program. And special thanks to YouTube.com for the Forbidden History Series. Please note that the following views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society, and nothing here is ever to be construed as medical nor legal advice. And thank you for the heads up, Lynn. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time, 7 days a week, right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming to you twice a day, 7 days a week, on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. Stand by for the broadcast. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio in the heart of Amish country and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series, the great lies of history, the duality in nature revealed, a book review of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, the words that kill, the ABCs of light, and a whole lot more. It's all right here, because we are the deprogramming program. And hi, Ninja, good to have you. It's the battle for the mind, ladies and gentlemen. The truth is light, ignorance is darkness, and these are the great antagonists, the one against the other. But once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things as they really are, then we can begin to comprehend that there's nothing really more to complain about. But if you don't know where you're going, then any road will get you there. And that's a tough way to go, ladies and gentlemen. The best way to identify the truth is to identify the great lies of history, and that's what we do right here. And to quote William Casey, CIA director, in 1981 said, "We will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American people believes is false." He ended up face down in the Potomac River, didn't he? I think so. It's a wonderful world, Mr. Smith. And hope your world is doing okay, ladies and gentlemen. We are in tough times, and from this point on, they're only going to get tougher. We need to have a revolution and a revelation in thinking. Theirs is the mass distraction. Oh, and I've got Melody Gillespie calling in. Forgot it was her night. Melody, stand by. We're opening up. Stand by. And welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Desert Owl, and you're tuned in right here to the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, what we tell right here. And on cue, we have standing by Melody Gillespie, who I used to produce a radio program for called Mel's Bar and Grill, where she cooked up attorneys, and then I got mine well done, and I asked her to throw them out the back door when she was done with them. And so she'd been cooking up for a long time, and goes into court all by herself, looks them square in the eyes, and they don't know what to do with her. But she's been toughing it out, swinging it, and studying and doing research, and is a maverick. You got some background noise there, Melody. Mute your phone out, Melody. Mute your phone. Okay, we gotta train all of our guests here, and so if you have any friends that are struggling right now with some legal challenges of their own, then this is the program to call in on, because there are answers to your legal dilemma, and there's no easy answer sometimes, but yet we can make sense out of the nature of what's going on. The racket is criminal. There is no law. It is merely public policy and the grand illusion with secret handshakes and backdoor payments. And there is nothing legitimate about the system. We have the same system basically they had in the Soviet Union, and you can read about it in the protocols of the elders, learned elders of Zion, because it's the exact system that is mentioned there as well. It is a prosecutorial system, and it's all stacked in disfavor of the people, ladies and gentlemen. So to find out more about that, let's bring her on right now, Melody Gillespie. Melody, are you there? Unmute. Now you can unmute.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Good to have you, Melody. Good to have you.
Hi, everybody.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we've got friends in on the chat right now, and so Melody, you can take it, and I'll just follow. I'll try not to jump in too much and listen. I feel like on our opening program last time, I listened to it and I said, geez, I got to learn how to sit back and relax, because I know you're used to do just the presentation, basically, right? Isn't that how you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of neat to be directed sometimes.
Right. Well, I'll sit back, and if I feel if I think of a good question, I'll jump in. And Jedi, good to have you. Star Wilson, good to have you. And Deplorable Duck, everybody, just stand by and say hi to Melody. Melody, you're on. Where are we going?
Okay. How do judges become judges? Well, all I can talk about actually is the California system that we have here.
Now, Melody, hold on. I just want you to know you're a little low from my standpoint. So if there's anything you can do to boost your audio, get closer, just give it a shot. Okay, please continue.
Is this better?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of complaints about judges. So how do judges get to be judges? There's a lot of rumors around and stuff like that. But what actually turns them from, say, a judge pro tem or somebody just holding a meeting in a courtroom, what makes them a judge as compared to any other person that could stand there and do that? Does anybody out there have any idea what makes them a judge? Now they've got a thing going on. They're supposed to be voted in, right? Not the Supreme Court judges. I'm talking about your state Superior Court and let's see, I think it's Court of Common Pleas in some of the states. But a lot of times what you see is a judge retire in the middle of his term, and another judge will take over. How do they choose those judges? Now, I'm particularly talking about a new judge. They weren't voted in. How did they become judges? Did they draw straws? Pick the highest card? Does anybody out there have any idea how does a judge become a judge?
Well, can I give it a shot, Melody?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, cool. Well, because now that you're posing the question, I find that a pretty good one, because I don't directly know the answer, but I This is what I know. One, it seems to me that those who want to, they go to Reno, Nevada, I believe it is, and go to a judge's school to learn how to be the protocols of being a judge, and then the only other thing I could guess would be by appointment and maybe special handshake. What is it?
Well, actually, they don't go to the Reno Judges College until after they become a judge, or any other state, or I shouldn't say state, but county employee and state employees they sent to the Judicial College for training on anti-government extremists. What was that book, the Anti-Government Extremist Handbook?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but it sounds like good brainwashing. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's out there on the internet for anybody who wants to read it. If you read that, you are going to get mad, angry, beet red angry. Because what they say in there is if you don't have an attorney, you're an anti-government extremist.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, that completely creates a bias against anyone who can't afford attorney and walks in there. So it's basically discrimination against the poor and maybe those with a little bit of common sense.
Well, if you get an attorney, apparently you're non compos mentis because you're a client. That's what client means, and therefore you're not mentally competent. Therefore, you need an attorney. So I guess if you're mentally competent, then you're a terrorist because you know too much, right? You're a threat.
Anyway, for those of you out there, get that book, the Anti-Government Guidebook. It is on the net, and they had another one, but I can't remember what the name of it is. I'll say it on another program.
Okay.
Anyway, what happens is the governor will appoint the judge when there's an interim retirement, or a judge dies or quits for whatever reason, or is taken out because of misconduct. And it does happen. It does. It's crazy. Some of the things that the judges have been taken out for. I mean, the judge was actually kind of crazy, and you wonder why did it take them so long to take them out of office, but they finally did. And the governor appoints them. And you'll find, if you look in your election code, you'll find some of this stuff on what the requirement is for a judge to be a judge. And if they don't have these requirements, guess what? They're not a judge. And they're completely, personally liable for everything they did on the bench. And it also explains why there's some judges who just don't seem to care what they do or what lives they destroy. And it's like they don't have the, what do you call it, like integrity for the law. Their political bias of globalism will completely seem to take over, and you go, how in the world can this happen? Well, if the judge isn't really a judge and you've agreed to let him be an independent arbitrator over your case, then maybe the same laws don't apply, and he knows it. Okay, there's a case called Legerton, Legerton versus Chambers, 163 Pacific 678, 32 Cal That's California 601. Now, the judge has no title until the commission is issued. Once the governor appoints a judge, he is required to have a commission. The judge must sign a commission, giving the judge a commission in order for that office to be filled. Now, there's things that have to happen to that commission, too. So it must be publicly recorded with the Secretary of State, and it must be entered into the Secretary of State's journal log. I found the same things in the federal for different offices, like district attorney. They have the exact same thing. They have to have their oath of office attached to a commission, and it has to be recorded. Now, in the United States, it would be with maybe it is with the Secretary of State. Probably is. I'm just thinking about Hillary Clinton being the Secretary of State, and did she actually make sure all these things were done? I just don't think so. But anyway, there's a lot that the Secretary of State is required to do, and that one of them is to keep archives, protect the public record, and see, Hillary Clinton at minimum would be required to pay back all the wages that she got because she failed to protect the record of the government, which was her emails going to, information, sensitive information going to other countries on an unprotected server. And therefore, the public would not be able to access her emails upon request with the Information Practices Act for any certain topic or liaison with another government. So the Secretary of State is supposed to do quite a bit. One of them is to protect the records of the government, keep the archives, and one of the archives would be is a commission for anyone who's appointed by the governor must have a commission. Okay, what if you go to the Secretary of State and you can't find a commission signed by the governor? What would you do? Well, you'd start to inquire with the Secretary of State, where are the commissions kept? Where's the log of when the commission was recorded into the Secretary's office? And what if you're informed that there isn't one for that judge? You're possibly looking at election fraud, because the judge when he ran for election, which they're required to do. They can only stay appointed for, I think, a term of 2 years. I don't know if it's different for every state. But when the next election comes up, they're required to run for office. Now, out here in California, they do a sleight of hand, and I really think the voters should throw a bigger fit about it. But if nobody runs against a judge, then he doesn't have to put his name on the ballot. Okay, here's the thing that you're looking at. How do you know when he's running? Right? Okay. if his name's not on the ballot. And then the other thing is that all of the judges can do this to each other all day long, is that make sure that only one runs at a time unopposed. So, and this gives incentive for a judge who's looking at retiring to retire in the middle of his term so another judge can be appointed. More than likely, the judges meet like quarterly. So more than likely, they pick their favorite attorney and give his name to the governor to be appointed, and then the governor says, "Oh, I don't see any reason why not," and he appoints him. I wouldn't doubt if that should be how it goes down, unless, you know, it happens to be a personal friend of the governor. Then I think that would probably take precedence over anything that they come up with at the judges' quarterly meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a sleight of hand. The voters don't even know when a judge is actually running. And to make sure that he has a commission and that he isn't running lying to them, which would then be election fraud. Because if they don't, they can have an appointment, but it doesn't mean a thing if they don't have a commission. And in that case law, Ledgerton, now I had to go to a law library to look this up, this case, because I think it's 1916. Ledgerton versus Chambers. Okay? So the judge has no title until the commission is issued, and the person is not entitled to the office until he has received his commission. And the commission is properly filed and recorded in the Secretary of State's office. Now, look at the people who are running who are running the agencies that you're looking at. Say the EPA, the local EPA, the state EPA, and the federal EPA. The IRS. And in California, it would be the Franchise Tax Board. And in each state, you all have a state agency, I'm sure, that collects collects state taxes. It's the same.
Just to clarify, EPA, Melody, just to clarify, EPA, was that Environmental Protection Agency?
Yes.
Okay.
In California, we're having quite a dilemma here, because the EPA will not allow them to use the local creeks to fight the fires with. And we have about 8 or 9 fires that are just out of control in Northern California.
So destroy the world, but protect the creek, right?
It's not to protect the creek. They are taking the water out of the creek and dumping it into the ocean.
Okay.
So the word has it, it's to protect the fish, ocean fish, and somehow fresh water is going to protect the ocean fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, because the fish population is dwindling. Apparently, they're quite tasty, and the ocean bass out here just love them.
Hmm.
But here's what we're looking at. We're looking at insanity here, right?
Absolutely.
Because look at all of the other animals that are being destroyed by the fire to protect the fish that really doesn't live there. where they're dumping the water into the ocean. They're just trying to make a desert out of California.
Yeah, it's clearly a scam, no doubt.
Yes, it's a scam. It's a scam to get us to pay more. You should see what water bond measures they want us to vote for. It's hundreds of millions of dollars to dump fresh water, our fresh water that keeps California green and plush and the breadbasket of the world, into the ocean to protect a fish that doesn't even live there.
Mm-hmm.
And that they want us to pay more and more and more money to do it. And it's like these politicians are laughing at us, surely, these globalists. And this is why I feel drawn to tell the people what's really going on, because they can stop this in their own local area. We can't think more than local. We really can't. Because if you can correct your area of the world, your local area, and each one of us does that, the rest of it will be corrected. You think about that. If each one of us does our part for our own local area, it'll correct the rest of it.
Right. Nobody's boilerplated it, though. In other words, nobody's done the first act, so you can't duplicate it until somebody does it the first time, right?
People are doing it. It's just that nobody's telling anybody what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether, the reasons aren't fear. Once it gets out that everybody knows this, then they'll try to change the policy where we don't understand what they're doing again. But look, here's the thing. There's the Constitution. There's the organic laws that support the Constitution. And that's what you've got to stick to, is those organic laws. And I hope you all looked them up from last week. So what we're looking at is trying to clean up our local areas. And we've got to do it quickly, because the globalists they're in a kind of a bad way. I think they're really desperate. They're doing some wild and crazy stuff. And then they're trying to blame it on Republicans, which is insane. I really don't believe in Democrat or Republican, but I tell you what I do believe is honest people. I believe in honest people, and I believe that honest people should do something about the dishonest, because that's the kind of world that their kids are going to grow up in, their family,
Yeah.
But you got to know what to do, and we've been robbed of this from their schools. The public schools taught government, but they didn't teach this part of the government. This was the most important. How do you take control of the government? And as we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, to keep that union perfect, is you got to know how it operates. And we were never, ever taught how it operates. We weren't even taught the truth about the Constitution, that there was 3 other documents that came before it that were just as important and give strength to the 4th, which is the Constitution of September 17th, 1787.
Right, and you were talking about the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and what else, Melody?
The Northwest Ordinances,
mm-hmm.
and the Bill of Rights.
And Bill of Rights, okay.
executive director of these agencies is appointed by the governor. Sometimes they don't appoint a new one. But the one that's still in office still has to have a commission in order for his appointment to be correct, or nothing in his agency that is being done has any force and effective authority. Now, the executive directors of agencies appointed by the governor, this is in your own state. We're not going to talk about federal right now. I went over that. I went over that a long time ago, and I have to find all my notes. The federal is about the same, but it's a little bit more complicated. Anyway, they are appointed by the governor, and they must have a commission. The commission must be signed by the governor and attested to by the Secretary of State under the Great Seal of the State of California, or the Great Seal of whatever state you're in. The Secretary of State has duties that they must perform. And what the Secretary of State must do with the commissions, they must be logged into the ledger of the Secretary of State. And if the judge never received a commission, he falsified his election status and possibly election fraud. And the executive directors of the agencies, I looked up our state taxing agency, and it said it's a private corporation. It doesn't even say providing government services like some of the others do. If you look on Dun & Bradstreet, look up every local office you have, and each one of them will be registered as a private business. But most of them will say something like that they do work for the government or something like that. Now, the California Comptroller must receive the monies that go into the state, and that pays the state officer and sets the board of whatever agency that's the state agency. And each executive director must receive a commission from the governor. Now, if they're working for a state agency and they haven't got a commission, and it's discovered and reported, they're required to pay back all the money that they received from the state, all of their salary. And I talked to the candidate who's running for the comptroller of the state of California, and he says, "You betcha, we'll start defunding them." That if the executive director isn't appropriate, if the agencies, well, by appropriate, I mean have the appropriate papers in place, and the state agencies are operating out of budget due to underground regulations, you betcha, he says he will defund them. And that's not the only way to get them defunded through the comptroller. But the comptroller, you betcha, he was on board with this. The guys who got in with Jerry Brown, you can't get them to do nothing. You can't. They said they were talking about Sarah, our Secretary of State right now, that that whenever they have meetings, they send him out to get sandwiches and coffee. So yeah, they're making fun of him big time because he doesn't do anything. He doesn't make sure the elections are honest. The commissions aren't being recorded. It's just insane. Now, there's a reason why this stuff isn't being done. It's because the people haven't made them follow the steps like they're supposed to. And what they're doing is they're trying to get themselves in line with international law. We don't want international law. Who gave them authority to replace it with international law? What they're trying to do is say it's a mandate from the people. And this is the same reason they claim that they're using underground regulations, is because it's a mandate from the people and it's an emergency. Everything's an emergency. Now, if you look up the imminent
domain
emergency.
Oh.
Yeah?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Imminent emergency, you'll find out in the legal dictionaries and in the legislative translation of that that's not what they mean at all. They can go through the proper rulemaking process. Now, what I'm doing to try to get the word out to help everybody start to keep track of what the government employees are doing is we hold meetings. And at every meeting, I get somebody there who can give them a little bit more of the information and the piece of the puzzle. And I will have handouts sometimes. But, I'm just trying to do what I can do to get this information out, because if the people will look in the code books will tell them what these people are required to have and what they're required to do to operate. In that Ledgerton versus Chambers, it will tell you what the agencies are required to have. Now, there's something that you've got to understand about recording documents. They have to be recorded in a ledger that's a journal, and it's not to be digitized. That isn't to say that they can't, scan it in and have it online. No, what I'm saying is that there has to be an actual book that's handwritten in. What you'll notice is if you were to say that the cops pull you over and you decide to fight your ticket, so you request the radio logs at that time and the transmission tapes. Well, the logs come back and they're all digital. They're not handwritten anymore. That means anyone can go in the computer and change the logs. So sometimes you'll see discrepancies, and sometimes they're so bad at it that they're easy to discover once you start looking at it closely. But I would fight every citation. I would fight every ticket. I would fight everything you can fight just to make them show that they have everything that they're required by law to have. Well, Jedi says if the people do not know, the people will not fight for it. That's why it's up to us to inform our community, to inform our neighborhoods exactly what is going on and how they can do this. If you fight your traffic ticket, if you fight your citation, then you can start matching it with what they're required to have in order to do what they're doing. How does an agency reach out and cite someone or create a debt that is obviously false, made up out of thin air, when it says they're a private agency and there's no affiliation for government? You can't. There's no commission by the governor. There's no. It's logged in on Dun and Bradstreet as a private corporation with 100 or more employees, and the amount that the corporation makes is unknown. So think about it. How does it have the authority to reach out and touch you or your neighbor or anyone else in that town? There has to be a nexus for the government to be able to reach out and touch you. Sometimes the nexus is just an informant, but I'd like to see where that applies as something legal. But if they reach out and touch you, you're entitled to all the information about that ticket. Some of these things, it's really good to get to use the Freedom of Information Act request, your state, for the state, and your Information Practices Act, or for the state, to find out what these people are keeping on you, and find out where they think their authority comes from, and who's opening up cases on people, especially you, right, or me. When you find out that the executive director of an agency that has reached out to you and demanded some kind of compliance out of you or some kind of funds, when you find out that they don't have a commission, you've got to request why they haven't followed the law. Why are they not commissioned? The commissions may be military. You got to expand your thinking. And what authority does the military have over the people? If the state cannot come up with papers of their incorporation, then you have every right to ask, who are they? But you're not going to know this until you ask for their authority by using Open Public Records Act request, Information Practices Act, Freedom of Information Act request, or whatever your state equivalent is. Get these records and keep them. Go to your state capital and start looking up the commissions of all of your judges and their oaths of office. Get the records on your county supervisors and your cities. Jedi asks, would you not start with the county first? And it depends on who's inflicting pain on you at the time. I would, if you're not being inflicted yet, I would do them all. Get all that information. It may keep them from inflicting pain on you if you have too much information on them. But if you find out they haven't got what's required, you can start knocking them out one by one. And that'll make the others get right with God. And then the next batch that comes in do the same thing until they all get the idea that they do have to follow the law. And it's not that easy to reach out and touch the people to rape and pillage. You might get more honest people in. Now, in California, we have something called the Administrative Bill of Rights. And the agencies are required to follow this. Guess what the agencies never do? The executive directors are required to have a commission. Guess what they never have?
A commission.
You are so smart.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are inclined to love research, get into the codes and find out what they're required to have to do what they do. And this can keep you and your community out of trouble and keep your government employees honest.
Speaking about honesty, Melody, what I was really just thinking about at that moment is how that it's all basically stacked in our disfavor. And as I had learned by experience, that most of these people in these key positions are, if they're women, they're Eastern Star witches, and if they're men, they're in the Masonic disorder. So we're really, it's that's why they're so unlawful, so blazing, and out of control, right? I mean, really, it's the occult world taking over, the store, right?
Yeah. Now, the corporate state of California and the corporate state of anywhere does not have the same purpose as the original state of California or the original state of anywhere. And a good reading on this is called The Federal Zone by Paul Mitchell. So there's your homework for the week. Okay, questions, anybody?
Well, we're just getting people to know that you're here, Melody, so we're still trying to build our listenership, and I hope everyone will, let everybody know that Melody Gillespie will be here every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If you know friends that are toughing it out in different legal issues, then this is the place to bring them. Okay, Melody's got half a lifetime of doing this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to talk
about? Well, just give us an idea again where we're going, because you've gone a lot down a lot of rabbit holes, with your journey, and so just give us a reminder of because you're spoon feeding us a little bit at a time with all this, and I know it's you have an unlimited resource of information to bring on, so maybe just give us
Okay, maybe I can tell some stories that people will relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I helped my daughter in court because, of course, she didn't come to me early enough, so it was we were really having to go work hard because it wasn't done timely. But her ex filed an ex parte hearing, which means that it's within like 24 hours. So you go to court and you file the paperwork for ex parte hearing, and you have 1 day to give the paperwork to the party that you're asking the hearing for, and then 1 day to give the paperwork to the guy or the party and let them know that there's a hearing that's going to be heard. And that you're not necessarily including them. They're not required to appear, but it may be because they're an interested party, you're letting them know that there's going to be a hearing. Well, he had somebody sign that the ex-husband had somebody sign that they had served by mail the hearing notice, which she was never given a hearing notice. The next thing she knows, the cops are at her door to take her kids away from her. The ex had gotten the kids from her through trickery. Well, what had happened was when the judge saw that the party hadn't shown up and they wanted the kids, the judge should have said, reschedule the hearing. But instead, he listened to the father and he said, well, I still don't see why I should take the children out in the middle of the school year. And he said, oh, well, there's reports on them from Child Protective Services for beating them. Well, the truth is that the ex had reported that the girl had got a spanking. She got a spanking because she was caught stealing and lying. And that you are allowed to spank your child. It's not a crime. There were no marks or bruises on her. And the Child Protective Services went ahead and dismissed the complaint because there was nothing to it. She was caught stealing and lying. Perfectly legitimate. So, okay, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, they came to visit me once, one time, Melody.
Okay. The complaint was found to be unfounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was no proof before this judge that any of this stuff took place, and he took the kids away from a mother who had her children in special classes. They were much harder classes, and they were challenging. And she was right there in school with them. You know, she was there every day because she worked as a teacher's aide. And
Melody, you just broke up on that last statement. Try it again. Just 10 words. Just back up 10 words. Go ahead.
Okay. She made sure that the children were in athletics and the girls were in dance classes and art classes. And she was very devoted to her children. And the father would never pick them up, would never take them any place. And if he did, he would come late. he was supposed to get them every weekend, and instead he got them like maybe once a month or once every other month. He said, and when they went to court, he went to court to say he didn't want to pay child support anymore, and the judge said, and he would like to see him more often. And the mother goes, wait a minute, you've missed how many weeks of picking them up? And they can't participate in sports after school because it conflicts with your other family. And the judge looks at him and says, you know, these children do exist. Okay, well, another judge came in, a male judge instead of a female judge, and this judge was Hispanic, which you say, oh, well, what difference should that make? I don't know, but he seemed to have a thing about Mexican women. That's all I know. I would sit in his courtroom and see him be prejudiced against one Mexican mother after another. It was insane. And so here he takes children that are being supervised by their mothers, supervised very well, very structured, and gives it to a father who never really showed any interest in them. He had another family as far as he was concerned, and they superseded anything his other children needed. And this is the kind of stuff that judges do. I bet you if we look it up, he hasn't got a commission. And so therefore, I guess if he hasn't got a commission with his oath of office attached to it, then maybe he doesn't have to follow the same rules, or think he does anyway. But that may spark any memories for you guys, because I have a feeling that it's not uncommon. I think what we're seeing is judges who are politically active in globalism that are trying to destroy the American family. And let's see. Well, that story is probably kind of boring. Sorry, I have some more exciting ones, but
okay. So Melody, what? So again, where are we going as far as you know, like the next week and the weekend after that? Is there because you know there's so many different types of remedy out there that you know, some people do the UCC, other people, you know, strictly constitutional, like, you know, Jack and Margie Flynn, they do presumptive letters and stuff. So do you look into those, like the, you know, their type of approaches, or you know, just give me a better idea of because you know I'm not the law guru here, and so I'm trying to you know, still wrap my mind around this.
Okay, this may not seem important, but you got to generalize it to everything across the board. These people do not have what they're required to have. If they don't have what they're required to have, they're not have no authority to do what they're doing. And when you find out that there's an agency that's acting ultra-virus, you go to the Office of Administrative Law and file a complaint, or you can go to your state congressman, assemblyman, and file a complaint against them.
Right. And
okay, they want to know if she got the kids back. Okay, this is a crazy story, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ex-husband, sent his son out to sell marijuana to the gangs, and he became a gang member, ended up in prison, and was finally let out at age 19. And the kid had definitely had anger issues because every time his parents showed up, he would just destroy the room. Just went crazy and destroyed the room. And then they wouldn't let the daughter go back. The daughter wanted to go back to her mother, and the father wouldn't let her go back. So she snitched on him. She said, they give me alcohol and drugs to keep me from going back to my mother. So she went to the court, an ex parte hearing for emergency, that they're giving her drugs and alcohol in order to keep her from going back to her mother. And it's causing her to have premarital sex and all kinds of other wayward stuff. And it caused her son to go to jail and be part of a gang. And, well, get this, the judge still wouldn't let the kids go back to their mother. And so he texted the mother, the ex texted the mother and said, well, you know what, I'm going to sign her over to you because I could have gotten a lot of trouble for this. So sign him over. And now she's living with her mother. And he said something to her like, you know, how could you do that? You know, like, how could you do that to your dad? Like, but it's like gang kind of talking. And she said, you wouldn't listen to me. So she finally got him to do the right thing, and they're going to mediation to get it finalized with a court order saying that the girl can now stay with her mother. And now the boy has moved back too, but not back home. He's moved back to be closer to his mother. And he had a few choice words for his father when he treated the girl the way he did.
Yeah, well, that court, family court, CPS stuff is about the most wicked stuff on the planet. That's how they harvest children for all of their nefarious purposes. And yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things that we found out about CPS. I had a lot of people telling me, and that Ted Gunderson, who was the FBI supervisor for this area, he said, yeah, the Satanism is really rampant. Mm-hmm. There's from Los Angeles to the San Joaquin Valley. He said the Child Protective Services are really bad in this area. They would sell children to snuff flicks and stuff like that. They were investigating a lot of it, trying to clean them up. The sheriff retired, and he was like the ringleader of what was called the Octopus. He was once claimed to be the most powerful sheriff in the country.
Well, that's
now
pretty.
He's got a
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's got a huge ranch in Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds like he's been getting something on the side, right? So.
He retired from the county of a very poor county. And with his retirement, he was able to buy like about a $500,000 ranch in Colorado.
Yeah, well, it figures it was a poor county because that's what they typically do is prey on the poor, and so he was in the right place. Yeah. So Melody, we're just to give out your contact information. Cap it off here, and then we'll pick it up again next Monday. So how people can get in contact with you, and if you have anything you want to offer, as far as documents or anything, please share all that. Hey, Mimio, good to have you from Venezuela, and Jenny, good to have you.
Well, I just want to remind people that look and see what they're not doing right. That is your answer. That's where your remedy lies. In getting them discredited. And and showing, if you show that they're not who they say they are, they have no authority. And you show that they have no authority to do what they can do. But you can't go to the courts and tell them, because you're probably not even going before a real judge. You're going to have to go to your assembly person, your congressperson for your state, and file a complaint. Now, for foreclosures, you're looking at county supervisors. They're doing a job too well, and it's not protecting the people, but they are the ones responsible. I'll have more things. I can't tell you for sure what I'm going to have next week, but I thought this was so important to get out, because people need to know that probably everyone who claims they're somebody is not really what they're claiming they are, because they haven't got the proper paperwork in order.
Yeah, and that includes
oath
of office too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can't go over to your neighbor and say, you owe me this debt now, pay me. What gives you the authority to tell anybody that they owe you? Unless they actually, there was a private contract that they borrowed from you and said they were going to pay you back. But to just go over to your neighbor and say, I performed these services, so now you owe me. Pay up, or we're going to start foreclosing on your house. If the county and the state don't have their papers of incorporation, then who are they? Who are these people? Always challenge who they are. And I'll type in the contact information. So they can contact me if they want to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the information, and let it serve you well.
Yeah, Melody, I'm sorry. What was that about contact information? Were you going to give it out, or I'm sorry?
I'm going to type it in. Okay, it's melsbarngrill@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm going to type it in.
melsbarngrill@gmail.com. Okay, and so Melody,
and the and is spelled out.
And the A-N-D spelled out. Okay, melsbarngrill@gmail.com. Okay, well, Melody, thank you so much for your presentation tonight. And I'll end with there's a quote here I was looking at while you're talking. It goes like this: the whole truth. I used to work with. By the way, I used to work with Ted Gunderson, and I also used to work with a retired intelligence officer when I got started into political activism. Little did I know, when he was doing typesetting for my business, he was formerly voice at Mission Control, and knew the Apollo 5 astronauts who were burned alive in the Tin Can Apollo program, and knew they were murdered. So anyway, so he wrote this quote: the whole truth. All of your assumptions have been wrong. You must remember that within the intelligence world, every truth can be based upon a lie, while every lie can be based upon some truth. If you try and separate the two, you will only wind up confused and frustrated. If you are an outsider, you will very slowly learn that there is no separation between these two, since the lies and the truth are both just two of the many sides of the very same ever-flipping coin. If you are an insider, you will slowly learn and then often painfully learn that sometimes the coin, it simply lands by mere chance. Yet sometimes the way it lands is totally rigged by you'll never know who, and then sometimes there is not even a coin at all. If you are lucky and work very hard at it, you'll find at least some part of the truth. But if you're really lucky and really work hard for this, you might even find the whole truth. And somebody out there really wants you to know it. Now, if you are phenomenally lucky because you have worked your tail off, then you might even go on to find the entire real truth. Yet no outsider, and in fact very few insiders, ever go on and learn the entire whole truth. Thank you for your help tonight, Melody.
Okay. Thank you so much, Desert. And I'll have something new and exciting next week.
Absolutely. Be well. Tell Courtney hello, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace and love.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, and that was Melody Gillespie, ladies and gentlemen. Dealing with underground regulations, telling you how you can take care of them on the back door, just like they're underground. Don't use the front door, use the back door, and call their hand. Stay out of that courtroom as much as possible, and take the offense. Okay? And so we're in the Forbidden History series, and we're going to be talking about the Barbary pirate out of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary. The Barbary pirates, you know, in the I don't know, was it the Star Spangled Banner? I'm not too much on the political stuff anymore, but they talked about the shores of Tripoli, you know, the Marine song, and all the way to the shores of Tripoli. Well, Tripoli, of course, is Libya, and that's was talking about fighting the piracy of Islam that was on the high seas back for the last several centuries, and it looks like it's back in vogue again. Just hang around and it'll all happen again, and that's what's happening. So here we are with the Barbary pirate. We're just going to let this song play out. That way, if anybody needs to use the restroom or call a friend or get a drink, then just go ahead and do that, and then we'll be on the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, just like with Melody, they don't want you to know that stuff. You know, they don't want you calling their hand. The business is good, babe. And it's an occultic world, ladies and gentlemen. They hate our guts. They just want to use our labor and use us to build some monument somewhere. Talk to Naughty Beaver, okay? You are tuned in right here to the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. I'm Desert Owl, your host. Stand by. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's a tough world, and we got to make it to the other side, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we're here, to help us make it to the other side. And welcome back. Welcome back. And so the Barbary pirates, that's a interesting story that we never learned about in school either, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, maybe we'll do. Thank you. So Barbary pirates, the Barbary pirates, also sometimes called Ottoman corsairs, were Muslim pirates and privateers that operated from North Africa from the time of the Crusades. Well, gee, that was a long time ago. We're talking 1,000 years, give or take. From the time of the Crusades until the early 19th century, based in Tunis, Tripoli, Algiers, Saleh, and ports in Morocco. They preyed on Christian and other non-Islamic shipping in the Western Mediterranean Sea. Their stronghold was also along the stretch of northern Africa known as the Barbary Coast, a medieval term for Maghreb after its Berber inhabitants. But their predation was said to extend throughout the Mediterranean, south along West Africa's Atlantic seaboard, and into the North Atlantic as far north as Iceland. Well, that's quite a turf. They often made raids called razzias on European coastal towns to capture Christian slaves to sell at slave markets in places such as Algeria and Morocco. Well, that sounds like a very benevolent religion, doesn't it? Yeah. According to, notice they didn't sell Muslims. According to Robert Davis, from the 16th to 19th century, pirates captured 1 million to 1.25 million Europeans as slaves. These slaves were captured mainly from seaside villages in Italy, Spain, and Portugal, and from farther places like France or England, the Netherlands, Ireland, and even Iceland and North America. The impact of these attacks was devastating. France, England, and Spain each lost thousands of ships, and long stretches of coast in Spain and Italy were almost completely abandoned by their inhabitants. Pirate raids discouraged settlements along the coast until the 19th century. The most famous corsairs pirates were the Ottoman Barbarossa, meaning Redbeard, the brothers of Hizir Hayreddin, and his older brother Uruk, who took control of Algiers in the early 16th century and turned it into the center of Mediterranean piracy and privateering for 3 centuries, as well as establishing the Ottoman Empire's presence in North Africa, which lasted 4 centuries. Other famous Ottoman privateers, admirals, included Turgut Reis, known as Dragut in the west, Kurt Ogul, known as Kurtogole in the west, Kemal Reis, Saleh Reis, and Koka Murat Reis. In 1544, Kahir ad-Din captured the island of Ishkaya, taking 4,000 prisoners and enslaved some 9,000 inhabitants of Le Peri, almost the entire population. In 1551, Turgut, now mind you, Islam was created by the Vatican, okay? So they were also working for the Vatican as a front. And, they got rid of the people they didn't want to have around, you can imagine, okay? In 1551, Turgut Reis enslaved the entire population of the Maltese island, Gozo, between 5 to 6,000, sending them to Libya. In 1554, pirates sacked Visti in southern Italy and took an estimated 7,000 slaves. In 1555, Turgut Reis sacked Bastia, Corsica, taking 6,000 prisoners. In 1558, Barbary corsairs captured the town of Cuituldala in Morocco, destroyed it, slaughtered the inhabitants, and took 3,000 survivors to Istanbul as slaves. In 1563, Turgut Reis landed on the shores of the province of Granada, Spain, and captured coastal settlements in the area, such as El-Muncar, along with 4,000 prisoners. Barbary pirates often attacked the Balearic Islands, and in response, many coastal watchtowns and fortified churches were erected. The threat was so severe that the island of Formentera became uninhabited. From 1609 to 1616, England lost 466 merchant ships to Barbary pirates. In the 19th century, Barbary pirates would capture ships and enslave the crew. Latterly, American ships were attacked. During this period, the pirates forged affiliations with Caribbean powers, paying a license tax in exchange for safe harbor of their vessels. One American slave reported that the Algerians had enslaved 130 American seamen in the Mediterranean and Atlantic from 1785 to 1793. Isolated cases of piracy occurred on the reef coast of Morocco, the Rif coast of Morocco, even at the beginning of the 20th century. But the pirate communities, which could only live by plunder, vanished with the French conquest of Algiers in see Celtic, see Islam, Nebraska, which is Axarben backwards. Okay, so I'm gonna just gonna go look under Islam. It's interesting, you know, when we really define these things the way it really is. Let's go to Islam here. They're already in a neighborhood near you, so don't worry. They're already there. Here we go. Okay. So Islam, this is by far the best explanation of Muslim terrorist situation I have ever read. The author of this email is said to be Dr. Emmanuel Tanya, a well-known and well-respected psychiatrist. His references to past history are accurate and clear, not long, easy to understand, and well worth the read. A German view on Islam. A man whose family was German for a man whose family was of German aristocracy prior to World War II owned a number of large industries and estates. When asked how many German people were true Nazis, the answer he gave can guide our attitude towards fanaticism. Very few people were true Nazis, he said, but many enjoyed the return of German pride, and many were too busy to care. I was one of those who just thought the Nazis were a bunch of fools. So the majority just sat back and let it all happen. Then before we knew it, they owned us, and we had lost control, and the end of the world had come. My family lost everything. I ended up in a concentration camp, and the Allies destroyed my factories. We are told again and again by experts and talking heads that Islam is the religion of peace. That's the cover. And that the vast majority of Muslims just want to live in peace. The biggest lie I ever heard. Although this unqualified assertion may be true, it is entirely irrelevant. It is meaningless fluff, meant to make us feel better, and meant to somehow diminish the specter of fanatics rampaging across the globe in the name of Islam. The fact is that the fanatics rule Islam at this moment in history, and it is the fanatics who march. It is the fanatics who wage any one of 50 shooting wars worldwide. It is the fanatics who systematically slaughter Christian or tribal groups throughout Africa and are gradually taking over the entire continent in an Islamic wave. It is the fanatics who bomb, behead, murder, or honor kill women. It is the fanatics who take over mosque after mosque. It is the fanatics who zealously spread the stoning and hanging of rape victims and homosexuals. They push the homosexuals off the top of buildings. It is the fanatics who teach their young to kill and to become suicide bombers. The hard quantified fact is that the peaceful Muslim majority are silent majority and is crowned, is cowed and extraneous. Communist Russia was comprised of Russians who just wanted to live in peace. Yet the Russian communists were responsible for the murder of about 20 million people. And just to comment on that, you know, the Russian Revolution, friends, you know, it was the, you know, with Lenin, it was like 100, it was such a low number, it was mind-boggling, but like 100 kites, 100 Jewish kites from New York on a train loaded with gold went into Russia. And because, of course, the Jews, Khazarian Jews were also in Russia already, they were willing to follow. But it was basically 100 what did they call them? They said it was the Bolshevik, right? And Bolshevik means majority. And the Bolsheviks, there were only 100 of them. 100 of them took over a nation, but it was by the assistance of their own kind that were already there, being the Jewish Khazars. So interesting how things play out with those who seem to be just standing by the sideline. Communist Russia was comprised of Russians who just wanted to live in peace. Yet the Russian communists were responsible for the murder of over about 20 million people. 20 million. And then they want to just talk about, so-called supposedly 5 million who died in Germany, which is not a true story, but what do you want to call it? Feel sorry. They want you to feel sorry for somebody when the whole story is based on a lie. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. China's huge population was peaceful as well, but Chinese communists managed to kill a staggering 70 million people. Yeah, we never hear about that, do we? The average Japanese individual prior to World War II was not a warmongering sadist. Yet Japan murdered and slaughtered its way across Southeast Asia in an orgy of killing that included the systematic murder of 12 million Chinese civilians, most killed by sword, shovel, and bayonet. And who can forget Rwanda, which collapsed into butchery? Could it not be said that the majority of Rwandans were peace-loving? History lessons are often incredibly simple and blunt, yet for our purpose of reason, our powers of reason, we often miss the most basic and uncomplicated points. 1. Peace-loving Muslims have been irrelevant by their silence. 2. Peace-loving Muslims will become our enemy if they don't speak up, because like my friend from Germany, they will awaken one day and find the fanatics own them, and the end of the world will have begun. 3. Peace-loving Germans, Japanese, Chinese, Russians, Rwandans, Serbs, Afghans, Iraqis, Palestinians, Somalis, Nigerians, Algerians, and many of the others have died because the peaceful majority did not speak up until it was too late. As for us who watch it all unfold, we must pay attention to the only group that counts, the fanatics who threaten all of our ways of life. 4. Lastly, anyone who doubts that the issue is serious and just deletes this email without sending it on is contributing to the passiveness that allows the problems to expand. So extend yourself a bit and send this on and on and on. Let us all hope that thousands worldwide will read it and that think about it and send it on before it is too late. And that won't happen, ladies and gentlemen, because those pictures and those emails have been going out for last 15 years, give or take, and longer. And it only gets worse. And the terrible things that have happened to people, by Islam is just it's the most horrific culture that has ever been on the planet. I'm sure, next to Israel, of course. Anyway, divine use first. Okay, so anyway, that's where we are with that, and I thought that was interesting read for today. And well, at the same time, there were the Knights Templars. Here's another definition out of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, real short. Knights Templars, the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon in Latin. But of course, that was another front also, right? The soldiers of Christ who take the sword and cut your head off, right? Same thing. Same thing. Yeshua said to, he wanted to make our swords into plowshares and to, and to follow peace, and that war in the society of those who follow him would not wage war. But that isn't what the Knights Templars were about. You see, they were looking for treasures for the Vatican, of course, and to set up what ultimately became, the Swiss hierarchy in Europe, and also what ultimately turned out to go into another form, and that would be the Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Okay, and so the poor, so they're so poor, fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, Latin, Pauperis Commilitans Christi Templicae Solomonicae, commonly known as Knights Templars. 2. A secret society with an inner circle whose intent was to grab all of the wealth, knowledge, lost writings, and the estates for the Vatican. See banking, Malta, Scottish Rite, Switzerland. And if you wanted to be an insider with the Knights Templars, then when they told you to spit on the cross, you needed to spit on the cross, and that meant you would do anything you were told to do. But if you didn't spit on the cross, then they would say, good boy, yeah, you're okay, just go along and don't worry about anything, we were just testing you, of course. So if you didn't spit on the cross, you wouldn't become an insider. If you spit on the cross, means you would just do anything you're told to do, and they got something they'd like you to do, so they upgrade you to the inner circle. It's amazing how the game is played, ladies and gentlemen. Normal people wouldn't be able to, figure this stuff out unless, you were at the wrong place at the wrong time, basically. Okay, so let's go to a little bit of, now we've been talking about piracy. Let's talk about a little piracy of words. How about that, okay? And I want to welcome any new listeners to the broadcast. And hope everybody's doing okay out there. It's a tough world, and we're all going to feel it if we haven't felt it yet, So in the piracy of words and the words that kill, here's an interesting one, that's not in the piracy of words, but I just wrote it down today. I just discovered this today. I was reading the great historian Herodotus, and I was in Mitzrayim, falsely called Egypt, and I was reading about Cyrus's son. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's on the tip of my tongue. Cyrus's son, Cambyses. Cambyses was the son of Cyrus the Persian king, who also conquered Babylon. And so Cambyses is in Mitzrayim, aka Egypt, and so in there Herodotus was talking about the fact that he apparently had epilepsy, but what that was originally called was the sacred sickness. Sacred sickness. Why? Because obviously there's a superstition around it that deals with falling down and and rolling around on the ground. So it's a very unique ailment that then you come out of it, and it just happens periodically. So anciently it was called the sacred sickness, and so that's what it should have actually said within our scriptures, and not demon, because demon just simply means of the moon. In other words, this that his mental and physical were under the control of the moon, which is also regarded as Lucifer. So, but the sacred sickness would have been the actual correct way of stating it, not demon, because you'll notice that the only time demon is used is when somebody had a mental condition. And this is how we have to pay to the attention to the words, because we get false pictures about these things, and then we perpetrate something that is not true within like some entity that flies through the air with wings on his back. So so that's what epilepsy is originally, the original thought, the sacred sickness. Yeah, I'm trying to work my way through Herodotus. I've been hearing it quoted for so many years, so I finally said I've got to read it. I'm about halfway through, and it's a profound. And Herodotus means the hero who traveled. So go figure. It's not his real name. It's what they labeled him as. So okay, so I'll put that back here. And so now we're on to India. That's an interesting place. They wouldn't be ruling the world, would they? No, they're just into religion, peace and love. Yeah. Okay, India, New India. The first and secret name of America. That's right. New India that's why they called the natives over here Indians. All right? That's why they called them Indians, not because, it was a mistake and we shouldn't have called them that. No, it was New India, and they were harvesting slaves from over here. Okay? And also taking the mineral resources. So the first and secret name of America, see Indians, Indiana, Indianapolis 500, the Brickyard. I'm probably going to do the presentation on that tomorrow. Indiana Jones opened those Bombay doors. Bombay's away and bombs away. Nevada, the Vedas that came down and make the connections. India correctly is Sindai. Sindai. So in other words, you sin, you die. Sindai. Okay. Adonai, the dawn eye, backwards is India, and the beast in the east, the phoenix. Okay. So born in the east. I got to turn on that air conditioner and just give me a second here. Okay. Okay, and you are tuned into the realpublicradio.net, ladies and gentlemen. They've got all the money. We don't have any money, but we do get the job done on a song, a wing, and a prayer. The acronym IMF is the agency of the UN, the International Monetary Fund, and they defrauded the nations of the world. See, fund is fun, or fun is fund, one or the other. Import, one, important. It must be important if it's an import. And need to keep that commerce moving and wind in those sails. Two, import, I am poor. That's a good one. I am poor. Look at it. Okay. And see, rope 'em in. Rope 'em. That's an anagram for import. Impound, one, weigh it in. Two, in the dog pound. Three, overweight. Impound. So see, I'm kidding, of course. Have to find some humor in all of this stuff. It's all an open secret. And then Inc. We talked about that the other day for incorporation. Inc. INC is one INK, and therefore it's black ink, and so it's darkness. Two, incorporated. Three, all ink stinks, being a title of nobility. Four, no responsibility. Five, dead unit. Six, no conscience. Seven, possesses symptoms of a psychopath. Eight, God help us. And C, anagram, sin to burn. Sin to burn. Oh, the anagram is sin. Ink is sin. I never even thought about that the other day, and it means to burn. Okay, and let's see here. Do one more page. Insurance, that's a protection racket. See Lloyd's of London. Interdependence, they want to bury the dependents. Inter means to bury. International, there you go. That literally means bury the nations of the Father. That's their conspiracy against Christianity. Inter means to bury. National, AL means Father. Inter-nation, all. Bury the nations of the Father. See, all, Father, intent on destroying all of Christianity. Interstate, bury the states. See, interstate commerce and the highway system, because it's owned by the Federal Reserve Bank. That's why their seal is on the interstate. It's the same seal on the interstate as, I talked about this the other day, is the same seal on the Federal Reserve Bank. IRS, so Interstate Highway Shield, same as Federal Reserve. See, shield is child, chilled and killed, and symbolic nature. IRS, one, a private corporation, private corporate collection agency of the Federal Reserve Bank, Jewish Khazar Aryan Mafia. Two, flowers. And six, see acronym for I read script, money. Late entries, allocution. One, a verbal claim and response before, and this is something you want to know about. You would want to know about allocution if you ever got in trouble. This is your last ticket to not go to jail. It's at the end, and it means to verbally state the wrongs that are being perpetrated against you. Allocution, one, a vocal claim in response before a final sentencing. Two, your last opportunity and backup to make your claim, and must be verbal. That's not me. See, I don't accept your offer. And business, the court covert system of the world. See, just doing business. And angels, 1, the English, Middle English Dictionary. 2, angle, hook. See, Malek was replaced by angel, surplanter. J is the hook, anglers. See, City of Angels, and the holy wood. And then we'll just cap it off with J as a symbol. 1, the hook. 2, the twin of the eye, the blind eye. 3, Old English, it was the second I, a consonant. 4, a code to take the place of the symbol Y, destroying the light again. See, Jones and Smith. Okay, and so that's the piracy of words. And you can tell they've been working on this a long time, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't start yesterday. This has been going on for centuries. And so you need to take back control of the words by knowing the meaning and definition. They're counting on you to not give a damn and to play dumb and be dumb and just go along to get along and stand in the next line they tell you to stand in. And you can be sure the last line you stand in will be the last line you stand in, because they got a chopping block waiting for you. So yeah, it's a tough world, and I just hope that everybody's doing okay out there. And you can still call in. There's still time to call if anybody wants to make a comment or a question. I'm winding it down here. I actually forgot Melody was coming on tonight, and every Monday night we've bringing on a lady that is an expert in all the areas of law. She's very responsible. She does everything to help her society out with the knowledge of law. And if you know anybody that is losing their home to the fraudulent nature of the Khazarian Jewish banking, then let us know, because we can direct them to somebody who helps people to save their homes. And any legal issue, we know people that are dedicated to helping others, and they're not attorneys. Okay, they're either ex-attorneys or paralegals. And Mew Mew, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. And thank you, Ninja, as well, for being here all tonight. Okay, so nobody's calling in, so we'll just wrap it up here. And tomorrow is another day. We hope it's here. If it's not, it's okay. I just hope that everybody out there is meeting the Redeemer right now, not going to meet the Redeemer. You need to meet your Redeemer right now. Get to know the one who made the universe, who made all things, who knows the score, who knows what you're going through, who knows about pain and suffering, and wants to set us free, ladies and gentlemen. It's the great mystery. There's two worlds right here, right now. One of darkness and one of light. Come into the light and be set free, won't you? And do tell your friends about the broadcast. We're hoping to make it a better world. And it also includes you, okay? So don't forget, if you're looking and you want to know the future, then just look for the forbidden history. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in. Be well, be at peace, stay in the present moment, and tell a friend. Thank you. Thank you, Ninja. Love you too.